والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. يقول الإمام الطحاوي رحمه الله تعالى: ولا يثبت قدم الإسلام إلا على ظهر التسليم والاستسلام، فمن رام علم ما حضر عليه ولم يقنع بالتسليم فهمه حجبه مرامه عن خالص التوحيد وصافي المعرفة وصحيح الإيمان، فيتذبذب بين الكفر والإيمان والتكذيب والإقرار والإنكار موسوسا تائها زائغا شاكا لا مؤمنا مصدقا ولا جاحدا مكذبا. Imam al-Tahawi rahmatullah alayhi says that we are going through this Aqidah of meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having ziyarat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sighting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All Dhat and Sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to have full submission. Our Islam will be valid if it comes riding onto the submission and onto the deep submission. He says, Imam al-Tahawi rahmatullah alayhi says, that person who will try to know that what is being forbidden, the territory in which he was not supposed to enter, and he did not become content by submitting, then he will be deprived himself from the khalis tawheed and from the pure and tahir ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and from the correct iman. And he will remain hesitant between kufr and iman, and between takzeeb and iqrar, between denying and between bringing faith and conviction unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he will be having doubts, and he will be having hesitation. He will not have perfect iman, and he will not have deep affirmation and confirmation. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. So that is what Imam al-Tahawi rahmatullah alayhi said, that whatever Quran and Sunnah had taught us, we need to have full submission. And wherever Quran and Sunnah is silent, we should remain silent. In any territory, we are not allowed to go in, to dig in, to dip in. Then we should stay away from going into those territories. If we will do that, then our iman will suffer, our tawheed will suffer, our ma'rifat will suffer. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us deep and correct submission. The way Sahaba had submission, the way Sayyiduna Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu had submission, that whatever comes from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, not even thinking twice, no hesitation, no doubts, no if and but. If it comes from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then I have no doubts, I have no hesitation, I have no if and but. Submission was there. Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, he is the Imam as-Siddiqin. Otherwise, every Sahabi, they were on to the ranks of Siddiqiyat. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us iman like Sahaba, submission like Sahaba, contentment. Whatever Quran and Sunnah had taught, then we should take it as it is. One thing we can make sure, that if it is coming from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam or not, for that we are allowed to make sure. But as long as we come to know that it is coming from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then then our attitude should be only one, that we submit to it, we have accepted, we have full conviction, and person will experience the greater your submission will be, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open deep and deep knowledge, ilm and its territories for you. Sometimes, what we do, first we think, no, if it makes sense to me, then I will accept. Then you are not having iman onto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are having iman onto your logic, onto reasoning, onto your senses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make your senses shine if your submission will be greater. So first submission comes, not the logic, not the reasoning, not the senses. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala who provided one of the great examples, that if it is from the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then why should I hesitate in believing? I have never hesitated whatever came from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to believe in. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is what Imaam al-Tahawi rahmatullah alayhi said, that if we are having boarded the vehicle of submission and surrendership, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us His ma'rifat. Then our tawheed will be pure, deep, clean and neat. And our iman will be very shiny. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us iman like that. ولا يصح الإيمان بالرؤية لأهل دار الإسلام لمن اعتبرها منهم بوهم أو تأولها بفهم إذا كان تأويل الرؤية وتأويل كل معنى يضاف إلى الربوبية ترك التأويل ولزوم التسليم وعليه دين المرسلين وشرائع النبيين. And Imam al-Tahawi rahmatullah alayhi said that people of Jannah, they will be given this great ni'mat, ru'yat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That ru'yat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should not add our own explanation. We should not add our own interpretation. Because when we come to know about Mursaleen, Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam, and when we come to know about those people of Iman, then we will find only one attitude from them, that they have total submission. They have surrendered to it. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ru'yat according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's shan. What will happen then? We will experience ourselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will treat us, and we believe in it. We should not bring our own opinions, our own views, our own interpretations, our own explanations. Instead, we should have submission like Anbiya alayhi salatu wassalam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treat us all with His ru'yat. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, before departed from this world, he was saying, Allahumma rafiq al-ala, Allahumma rafiq al-ala. Imagine whole life, whatever Nabi sallallahu must have done, jihad or salat or tasbih or takbir or labbaik or hajj or umrah or anything for the sake of Allah. Imagine that consciousness that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said himself that an ta'budallaha ka'annaka tarah fa in lam takun tarahu fa innahu yarak. You worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you are seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That consciousness, what type of consciousness Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam must have had? We cannot even have its total understanding. It is only between abd and Rabb. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is one of the greatest abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the greatest abid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The type of consciousness, the type of anticipation, the type of waiting to meet, to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had. Only Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. So imagine the whole life and its consciousness. And when he is departing, he is saying, Allahumma rafiq al-ala. Given choice between life and between death, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam chose that, no, I cannot wait now. I want to be with Rafiqul A'la. I want to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the ultimate goal, that every time we perform our salat, whatever we do, we have that anticipation that this salat will take me to the ru'yat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This tasbih will take me to the ru'yat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The sajda will take me to the ru'yat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This fast and this hajj and this umrah and this charity and this jihad and this struggle, everything, it will take me to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People they recite La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah by tongue. Some people they write La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah by pen. And shuhada, martyrs, they proclaim La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah by their own blood. So, different levels of iman, different levels of anticipation, different levels of consciousness. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us and create that reality of the consciousness that we cannot wait to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these two sentences and the previous one these two paragraphs and the previous paragraph, they are, indicating, or they are trying to prepare us that we should have submission, tafweed. We should have tafweed. We should have submission. That, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had said about His ru'yat, or whatever Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had said, we have total conviction, iman, faith, and we submit to it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the reality of the ru'yat into the neighborhood of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya awwal al-awwalin, ya akhir al-akhirin, ya rahim al-masakin, يا ذا القوة المتين يا ذا المن فلا يمن عليك يا ذا الطول يا ذا الجلال والإكرام لا إله إلا أنت زهر اللاجئين وجأر المستجيرين ومأمن الخائفين يا مأمن الخائفين إن كنت كتبتنا عندك في الكتاب أشقياء فامحو عنا اسم الشقاء وإن كنت كتبتنا عندك في الكتاب مقطرا علينا أرزاقنا فامحو تقطير رزقنا وحرمان رزقنا واكتبنا وأثبتنا عندك سعداء ووفقنا الخير فإنك تقول في كتابك يمحو الله ما يشاء ويثبت وعنده الكتاب اللهم إنا نسألك فعل الخيرات وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين وأن تغفر لنا وترحمنا فإذا أردت بقوم فتنة فتوفنا غير مفتونين غير خزايا ولا ندامة ولا مفتونين اللهم واقية كواقية الوليد اللهم خذ بناصيتنا إلى البر والتقوى اللهم علمنا الكتاب والتأويل اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم اجعلنا علماء فقهاء اللهم اجعلنا من الراسخين في العلم اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا وحبيبنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمته.